This group of people came up to me at New York City Fashion Week and thought I was Sabrina Carpenter. I stand up and I was like, yes, that's me, espresso. Most people probably have never taken an IQ test in their life. On a Friday night, I like to literally kick back with a puzzle and a book and like an IQ test. You know what I mean?
This is one of my highway designs. It's 35E just south of Dallas.
We can't even keep up as engineers with infrastructure. You know how our stack kept falling over?
Yeah.
There were 100 people around me coming up. I started just saying no. I know what we need to do to get this structure to be secure. Maybe the highest moment of my life.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Behind the Beast, where we get to know the contestants on Beast Games Season 2, Strong vs. Smart.
What's up, y'all? I'm Trina. I'm player 62 on Beast Games Season 2, and I am an engineer. I design highways and roadways and other municipal work, and I also have an extremely high IQ.
All right, so now whenever we did New York Fashion Week together, because of Sasha, shout out her, you were recognized as a famous celebrity. So can you talk to us about that and like what affiliation you have with her throughout your life and why you like her so much?
Let me first preface this by saying it is absolutely wild that this happened. I can't even believe it. I honestly thought it was a joke at first, but this group of people came up to me at New York City Fashion Week at the pre-party and thought I was Sabrina Carpenter, and I completely thought it was a joke. So I was full in character. I stand up and I was like, yes, that's me, espresso. And I start singing espresso, y'all, and I'm insufferable. I'm singing and I'm like, yes, I'd love to come take pictures. They're asking me for pictures, so I go over to their table and I realize as I'm over there, I'm like, oh my God, they're serious.
They're for real?
They think I'm Sabrina Carpenter. There's no way. Like, there is just no way.
And it seemed like they were also like international, so maybe they weren't like familiar as much.
Almost, and they had some drinks flowing, so I'm almost sure that they're gonna wake up the next day and be like, "That's not Sabrina Carpenter. That's Sabrina Carpenter from Timu." But no, it was actually really great. I mean, honestly, I just would never imagine that kind of thing to happen, because if you were to know me, I could show you a picture from high school. High school me was like, I'm like the story of the ugly duckling kind of. In high school, I was like no confidence. I had like cystic acne all over my whole entire face. I was the marching band nerd. I would have never imagined having like something like that happen where I'm mistaken for like a beautiful celebrity. So, which keeps me humble, and it made me who I am today, the confident woman that I blossomed into. But being mistaken for Sabrina Carpenter, I am never going to forget that. Like, it's just one of maybe the highest moment of my life, the highlight of my life.
Now, also in the city, we actually had a talent show, and there you got to actually perform as Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes.
So this has kind of been like a bit in your life even beforehand, or how did that come about? Why did you decide to sing her?
You know what? I won't lie. I was like the top 0.0001% of listeners of Espresso in real life. I really was, to where I got like a special message from Sabrina Carpenter on my Spotify Wrapped. So I really do just love Espresso. But no, I've loved Sabrina Carpenter. Like, her, it's kind of a newer thing. I am one of her fans who found her maybe in the past, like 3 years ago or something, right before she blew up. And I've never resonated with music the way I have with her. I know other people from the outside are like, oh, it's just bubblegum pop. But no, I resonate with everything about her music. It is unbelievable. So I don't know. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do a talent show. You know what? There's no better thing for me to do than to sing Espresso. It's like something I'm passionate about. I know that song inside and out.
So it wasn't even that like you were like, oh, people say I look like Sabrina Carpenter, let me do the song. It's genuinely a song you like.
I genuinely am obsessed with Espresso.
Oh, that actually makes it crazier.
It's like my confident, like, hot girl anthem. Yeah. Like, I was driving to, listening to it every single day, like listening to it, bumping it here at work while I'm designing highways. Like, I don't know, I just totally resonate with it. And the talent show is another thing that I would never have imagined doing in my entire life ever. Like I said, back in the day, I was like the shy marching band nerd, but obviously now today, I'm like the confident woman that I am. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I'm going to do the talent show, and I'm going to be Sabrina Carpenter.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now, you got onto the show because you actually have a very high IQ, a 160, that's correct?
Yes.
Yes, which is the same as Einstein. So how do you actually go about first taking an IQ test in the first place? Because I feel that's not like a thing that happens to a lot of people.
Most people probably have never taken an IQ test in their life. But for me in particular, you can ask anyone in my family. You can ask my husband. I take IQ tests just for fun on the weekend. I've taken hundreds and hundreds of IQ tests just for fun. I don't know. It's fun, like Friday night. Well, I think sometimes I just come across them. Like, I get emails about new ones, or you can even I've taken like paid ones that you can go pay to take. Those are like the official ones. Yeah. But there's a ton of free ones online too that you can take. Some of them not so official, some of them not so good. Some of them kind of like pay $20 bogus kind of scam. Yeah. But just in general, I just love taking IQ tests. I think it's really fun. I'm the type of person, like, on a Friday night, I like to literally kick back with a puzzle and a book and
Okay.
like an IQ test. You know what I mean?
So now, when it comes to IQ tests, what does that like help you stand out in? Is it like memorization? Is it just critical thinking skills? What does IQ necessarily represent?
The thing about IQ tests is that they say you can't study for it because you can't. The idea of an IQ test is that it tests so many different avenues of what your brain could comprehend. Like there's verbal comprehension, there's a mathematical section, which I always kill it on those. Math is my very favorite, science as well. But yeah, math, and then there's like logic. You have to be really, really fast. Some of the IQ tests, a big portion are just visual, like spot the knot type of things. So it just tests an overall idea of how smart you are based on the different components.
So now, obviously, you design highways, and a lot of times when designing highways, your work doesn't necessarily get noticed right away. So do you like working in that invisibility? What is that like?
Yeah, that's so true with engineering just in general. No one walks into a building and says, who built this building, right? No one does that. But I find it fascinating because the thing that's rewarding behind the scenes for me is not just driving on the highway we built, but, you know, I'm overall helping the quality of life improve in the city, right? With infrastructure, I'm helping with lower the congestion throughout the traffic, you know, in the Metroplex. I'm helping with just in general. I like being a part of the cause of, you know, our population is growing so rapidly that we can't even keep up as engineers with infrastructure. But here I am trying, you know, and doing my best and making a difference. It goes unnoticed to like the naked eye per se, but everyone drives on the highway, right?
It affects everyone.
Yeah, it affects everyone.
So now, can you walk us through one of the most like chaotic days of your job? Like, is there anything that went wrong, and how did you fix it, and what did you learn from that experience?
You know, every single engineering project, it's just inevitable that stuff is going to go wrong. There are going to be fires to put out on every. You could have the most perfect design ever, and then it goes to construction, and something goes wrong out at site, or you know, this pipe is bigger in real life underground than what the survey picked up. So there's all sorts of fires to put out, and chaos certainly sometimes. But it's just inevitable on any project, no matter what you do. But the important thing is that you communicate effectively, you make sure everything is going to be safe, and you make sure that you double and triple check whatever you're doing and make sure that you do it correctly. You have to correct the problem in a safe way, timely fashion. I think for me in particular, communication is really important, obviously, which is funny because engineering, people think that we're just like really shy generally
Sure,
and we're just like sitting at our desks and we're super shy and we don't communicate. But actually, engineering is one of those fields that we have got to communicate properly and effectively in order for the project to get done safely. And
It's not a job that you can do like on yourself, by yourself, just like code it and then pass it on. But you have to work.
You would imagine it being that way sometimes, and even in movies and stuff, it's portrayed that way. But no, it's actually a very it's a more social job than you expect, a very collaborative job. We're a team working on the highway together, or roadway, or bridge, or culvert crossings, whatever it is, it's a team of people, and you have to collaborate with each other. And you even collaborate with the other departments too, you know, like a roadway, for example, we're collaborating with landscape architecture subs, you know, for the landscaping around our roadway. So it's a very collaborative process, and chaos does happen sometimes, but you just have to do it the right way and fix whatever situation you come across.
So now, one thing is people love to complain about construction taking forever, but what's one reality that people don't see behind the scenes of why that happens typically?
You know, I have kind of a funny answer for that because the real answer is money, funding. Funding, literally, if we had all the money in the world, that highway would be built in like a month, right?
Sure,
And a lot of times, especially if it's a government-funded road, funding is, first of all, hard to get. And then when the funding does happen, it sometimes comes in increments. So sometimes things take forever because generally there's just not enough money. But then people like to complain about taxes. But infrastructure is the one part of your taxes that you should be super happy to pay. Because if not, you know, if we had no money for infrastructure, then, you know, the roads aren't going to be built. Everyone's going to be complaining about traffic. You can't even get to work because it's congested. The culvert broke under the bridge and now there's stormwater flooding the neighborhood. Someone has to come out and pay, and the city has to fix that, you know? So I feel like, not to get political, but that's the one part of taxes that people should be happy to pay, honestly, in my opinion. Not just as an engineer, but as a civilian living in society. It's your part. It's all of our parts. We're all working together on this, kind of. Oh my God, that sounded so stupid. Well, you know what happened? I got in my head. You can probably see it. I was like, am I really going down a taxes route? Oh my God. So as much as it sucks to pay your taxes, you can have some peace knowing that some of the taxes going to infrastructure is, you know, going to stuff that you utilize every single day, like roadways.
So now, engineers often influence how people move and access a city. So are there any like ethical dilemmas that you have to face as an engineer to make sure the best things happen?
Yes, ethics is the biggest part of engineering that, it's not really talked about, of course, but even for as a licensed engineer, we have to keep up with our ethics training every single year. And it's a big part of getting your license is knowing the ethical background behind engineering, because some of the biggest catastrophes in engineering result in fatalities. So we have to be extremely ethical. And even if it's not the fun thing to do, even if it sucks, even if you might have a little bit of chaos that comes from it, you just have to do the right thing. For example, like there's been multiple times throughout my career where I've had to go to the project manager or my boss or whatever and say, hey, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake and I just discovered it. And I know it's going to take me like 20 hours of overtime this week to fix it, but this can't be built. I have to correct this or else something bad could happen. And it might not be that big of a deal. Sometimes it's just something small in design that we fix. But some of the biggest catastrophes happen because of someone unethical. They're cutting corners. They don't want to spend the money on the extra cost of this. We'll just use that instead. And then something terrible happens. Or there's one major, what was that one? There was one major pedestrian bridge collapse that happened in Florida, and it resulted in multiple fatalities. And the engineer or the inspector saw the cracking 2 days before it happened.
Oh, dang.
And clearly didn't do
it.
Nope. He sent a voicemail to one person and then never even followed up. That's just unethical, and look what it did. So just in general, ethics is like the #1 top priority on any project and in my career.
Hey everyone, this is Trina again. I just wanted to show off one of my highways that I've actually worked on. So this is one of my highway designs. It's 35E just south of Dallas, and it's a major urban high-speed freeway. It's one of my favorites because it's got some really interesting, unique features, like it's 7 lanes across. So in some areas, this highway is actually 6 lanes or 7 lanes across. So it's a massive urban freeway. And in the middle here, we've got 2 controlled access lanes, which used to be back in the day HOV lanes, but no one was following the rules on that, of course. So nowadays, we're turning all of those into controlled access lanes where TxDOT can do whatever they want with it. Like nowadays, they kind of like to make it into toll lanes. So it's an extra special feature that you can take during like rush hour if you choose to. The way that we pick which highways are in need of design or reconstruction is that we do traffic data studies. So we study the traffic patterns and we decide what areas are the most congested, what areas of the roadway are the most deteriorated. This actually used to be an asphalt road in most parts, and so asphalt just doesn't hold up in high-speed urban areas. So now we've replaced it all with beautiful concrete, beautiful overpasses with lovely pedestrian features like the sidewalks. There's also a really cool pedestrian overpass bridge in one area that was so cool to work on also. The existing highway here, before we redesigned it and reconstructed it, was not meeting up to standards anymore. So the ramps were all super short and way too sharp of turns. We actually have really strict standards of the curvatures we can use on the roadway and the widths of the lane, everything to make it as safe as possible. And we also, on this roadway in particular, especially way down there, you can actually see in the distance, the whole entire highway turns to the left. And we do something called super elevate the road. And super elevation is where the road is flat usually, but on a curve, we will turn it this way so that you're going on a curve super elevated around. And that makes it a lot safer and more comfortable for the high-speed roadways. Another feature of the highways that we design nowadays that you don't really think about with highway is that, especially with the overpasses and the frontage roads, we design all of the pedestrian paths to be ADA compliant. They have really strict standards for good reason so that people with disabilities can still be included and safe on all roadways. So for example, we have these push buttons that are brand new. And the sidewalk here is nice and wide, very smooth. We have certain slopes that we have to stay underneath so that nothing is too steep for anybody.
And then the bumps there are for like canes,
oh my
right?
Gosh, yes. Yeah. Okay, so the bumps here, especially when they're outside of grocery stores and things, people think it's like for carts or for wheels or something, but it's actually detectable tactile surfaces. And they're used so that the bottom of a cane or the bottom of your shoe, you will feel the bumps and know that you're about to enter a roadway. And sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're red. The color kind of it can either be yellow or red, but that's kind of just like a city preference. Like the city of Dallas will use red all throughout the city. Some cities use yellow all throughout. You'll also see them at train stations, like the DART station. You'll see right before all the train tracks is a big bumpy surface, tactiles. So yeah.
So there's no like difference psychologically even between the two different colors, red and yellow. Like I don't know if red is more like danger.
No, actually, now that you say that, it's a city preference. But as an engineer, we actually try to do the one that stands out the most with contrast. because it's also for the visually impaired. So right now, this is a white, or this is just regular concrete. So the red stands out more than yellow would visually. But let's say you had asphalt where the ground is like a dark gray color, the yellow would be perfect for those situations. And as an engineer, we tell the city, hey, I know your preference is red, but if you want to use asphalt, I recommend we use yellow as the engineer because it's my job to make sure everyone is safe versus aesthetics. So, yeah.
Wait to cross Marcellus Avenue. Wait.
Marcellus Avenue. So yeah, it actually says the street name so that you know, for the hearing impaired, you would know what street you're on. I'm also a traffic control design specialist. So I specialize in planning the traffic through construction zones, which is really important. First of all, for efficiency, no one wants to sit through really bad traffic in a construction zone because of bad planning, but also for safety. A lot of accidents and mishaps happen in construction zones for various reasons. So as the engineer and traffic control design specialist, I make sure everything is safe and efficient.
So now going to Beast Games, one of your biggest moments was that you were the design team lead during the Big Blocks Challenge for our team. So now what are some of the biggest difficulties during that challenge that you had to overcome?
You know, I think the number one biggest difficulty that I struggled with through that challenge, even starting from the very beginning, was being a leader. It was actually really hard. There were so many people coming up to me nonstop, left and right. Hey, I have this idea. I have that idea. I have that idea. And in the engineering world, that's a thing. You know, everyone has ideas. Let's all have collaboration and input. But in that moment, it was so much. It was everybody left and right. I have this idea. No, let's do this instead. I'm talking. It felt in my mind as if there were 100 people around me coming up and bombarding me with ideas. Maybe it didn't look like that in real life, but that's what it felt like. And
especially in a room full of people that think they're the smartest people in the room.
Yes, and the high pressure. I can see it. I could see the look on everyone's face of they really thought their idea was the best. And I love that. And so it sort of broke my heart. And I think that's where the leadership kind of struggled because I almost had empathy for them. And in my mind, I was almost for a second being like, well, maybe that's a good idea. And I was taking everyone's thoughts into consideration. I feel as though I had a big turning point halfway through where I started just saying no. Like, no, I know what we need to do to get this structure to be secure and structural integrity. I've got this. And I almost had to like believe in myself and just start saying no to the other people. Like, no, we have to do this. I promise you will be okay. You have to trust me. And as a leader, that's really what you have to do is believe in yourself and then get the other people on the team to believe that they can trust you, that you know what you're doing and that you're going to lead them to success. So that was the hard part. In fact, it was so chaotic that I lost my voice halfway through because I was just so much delegating and talking and hopefully not yelling, but it was just really tough. But I'm just so glad it worked out because that was honestly the coolest thing in the world. And this sounds weird and kind of crazy, but I'm kind of glad that it was almost like a struggle. It made sometimes the failure, you know how our stack kept falling over? Multiple times the whole thing fell over and it was so hard in the moment, but it makes the success so much sweeter when it's a struggle.
So now also as a woman in civil engineering, you are in a male-dominated field. Is there any like larger purpose or dream that you want to impact the field yourself?
One of my very biggest dreams ever that I think would be so cool and something actually attainable that I really think I could do one day is to create an app on the phone, some sort of like game or something fun that could encourage little girls to get interested in math and science. It could be like a fun game or something like kind of girl coded to where it's not like learning pushed in your face. It's actually a super fun app, you know, that they're playing and having a good time.
Make it more natural,
Yeah, like a more natural way to learn that you don't even realize you're learning, but it could get them interested in math and science. Another great example of this, of learning, but you don't even realize you're learning because you're just having so much fun watching the content, is recently I started an exoplanet series on my TikTok where I feature a specific exoplanet each time. And what I've been doing is making it girl-coded and fun. Like this one exoplanet, WASP 193b, has an extremely lower density than cotton candy. So scientists nickname it the cotton candy planet. I actually had a girl comment recently and she said, if science was like this in school, I would have actually loved it. And that made my heart so happy. And I was like, they like flipped the switch in my mind of like, this is where it is. This is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to be focusing on, is making learning fun so that girls can be interested in math and science. You know, I think sometimes when it's in school, it can be a little boring, of course. Maybe you don't resonate with it. But if you can learn something in a way where it resonates with you, that's where it is.
Another cool thing about our highway is that there are a few overpasses that have tunnel sections underneath it on the highway. And above this tunnel section, they're actually building a recreational park. It has like a little amphitheater. And I believe they have like a really good landscape architect building a beautiful park for everyone to hang out at. There's actually a picture here of what it's going to look like. It looks like kind of an amphitheater type area where live music could be played. And there's a few like pedestrian recreational trail right there that you can see. A nice grassy area where people can sit and like listen to the live music. I see this. There are some steps that people can, yeah, here are the steps that people can sit on and chill. You see that wall right there? You see those a lot along freeways, especially the high-speed ones, because it's so loud. That's actually a sound wall just to help block out the sound from the neighborhoods. And sometimes the neighborhoods have to either elect to have one or not, because it's kind of an aesthetic thing. Sometimes people don't want a big concrete wall in front of their, behind their house.
Sure, yeah.
But we always try to tell them as the engineer, like, please do it. It'll significantly decrease the noise. Oh, and here's one of our beautiful on-ramps. I actually love ramp design. It's so fun. There's a certain curvature you have to use. And I just find it really fun to design in AutoCAD. We use AutoCAD or MicroStation, a few different softwares for the highway design. And now coming up here is actually the really cool tunnel that I was talking about with the recreational park above it. So yeah, it's a nice little fun tunnel. Lots of illumination, lots of lighting. We design literally everything, even the overhead signs. We designed those too to say whatever we needed to say and be the right standard of size. The lettering on the overhead signs have to be a certain size depending on the speed of the roadway so that the driver is able to see it well enough. So like lower speed roadways would have smaller signs with smaller letters.
Yeah.
High speed roadways will have larger signs with larger letters to be able to see. Thank you so much for joining me on my engineering tour.
All right, to finish things off, we're going to do some rapid fire questions.
Ooh,
you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. What is the least glamorous part of being an engineer?
The least glamorous part is probably when I love my design. It's the best design in the world. No other design could be better. And then the project gets shelved.
Oh, yeah, that would be frustrating.
Yeah.
What is one thing that people assume about high IQ that's totally wrong?
People assume that if you have a high IQ that you're very antisocial or you're introverted like crazy, and that's totally not true, actually.
Proven by Trina.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, what is the best food in Dallas?
The best food in Dallas, actually, and I might get some hate for this, is Chili's. I love Chili's.
Oh, no,
Take
yeah.
me to
Chili's is
Chili's
great.
any day.
Yeah.
Like the mozzarella sticks. Are you kidding me?
So
$5
good.
margarita. I'm obsessed.
Perfect. Now, what is your favorite weird engineering fact?
My favorite weird engineering fact, actually, let me see. Okay. My favorite weird engineering fact is that sometimes when I'm out at site, I get asked why my vest is so big. Shouldn't you have a smaller one that fits your body size, right? But actually the back of the vest between the silver parts makes a square, and it has to be a minimum of 1 square foot area for safety reasons on visibility.
So everyone could see it from a distance.
Yes, exactly. It could be bigger than that, but minimum 1 square foot.
I love that. Cool. And then what is the best Beast game memory in 5 words?
Ooh, in 5 words. Led my team to success.
Hey, there we go. I love to hear it.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Trina, for taking the time to interview, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Beasts.
Bye.
Thank you for watching another episode of Behind the Beasts. It genuinely means the world to me. Now, for those who do not know, we are also doing a fundraiser across the entirety of the series for Major Connections. It is a foundation created by Gloria, one of the other contestants on the show, and its purpose is to provide resources as well as a sense of community for those with disabilities, both kids and adults, in rural communities. Now, oftentimes in major cities, they have the funds to be able to provide these resources, but smaller cities do not, and that is what Major Connections aims to solve. If you want to learn more about Major Connections, check out the link in the description. If you have the financial means to do so, please donate to the cause. And if you don't at this moment, that's okay. Please share it with your friends and family. But for now, thank you for taking the time to watch Behind the Beasts, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.